Hello and welcome to Authors Without Borders Presents. I'm your host, Alberta Sequeira, and I'm from Rochester. I am one of 4 published authors that combine with the Authors Without Borders. And what we do every month on this channel is we try to interview different authors and writers and poets and artists, and it's just to give you an idea of what the world really is like with the publishing world, and especially the hardest part with marketing and promoting. But today I'm going to be interviewing Stephanie Blackman from Whitman, and she is the publisher of Riverhaven books. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you so much for having me today.
What I'd like to do is I'd like to learn at first what your life was like with your family when you were younger, if you have any siblings. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I'm an only child. I grew up in the same house my entire life, and I have 2 wonderful and very talented parents. My mother decided to stay home with me when I was born, and she, in order to make ends meet and have money for Christmas and things, she painted. And she has a very good painting career, but she also loves to write, and that was about the situation with her. And then my father is a quality assurance engineer, so he's on the other side of things, the problem solving.
Yeah. Now, did you get the desire young to write from your mother?
I did, yes. I always loved to write. I had some things published in the school newspaper. I ran the school paper with a few other girls, and I also contributed and ran the literary magazine in high school, and then worked on it in college.
Now, was that in Whitman? Were you living there? Or
I grew up in Hanson, actually. So I didn't move very far away. My parents still live in this house I grew up in, and they were about 10 minutes from us, which is wonderful.
Yeah. Now, what about your background? Did you further it in college with writing?
I went to Eastern Nazarene College in Quincy, and I studied English and secondary education. I had some teachers who were very influential to me. When I was in 1st grade, Mrs. Costa was wonderful. In 6th grade, the Blosses really inspired me, and then when I got onto high school, Miss Marble and Mr. Amorosi were big in my life, and they really inspired me, and I always loved teaching. In high school, I was actually asked to home tutor a couple of students, so I got to do that, and I just knew I always wanted to teach, and I love writing and I love reading, and so teaching English seemed to be the natural progression.
Now, what made you actually decide to become a publisher? Because that's a big step.
It was a big step, and actually it was my mother. She is, as I said, a very talented writer, and she has some manuscripts that she's got for more traditional books that are out. She's trying to traditionally market them to agents and whatnot, and it's a very frustrating process. Anybody who goes through it, Stephen King himself, his first novel, Carrie, he sent out over 60 times and got rejected, and finally threw it in the trash, and his wife picked it out and said, no, you've got to work further with this, and the next publisher took it, and we see where Stephen King has landed. So my mother decided that she had light romance that she wanted to do, and she didn't want to try to traditionally market it to agents, and she asked me if I would help her with getting it formatted and self-publishing it.
Now, did she go through all the steps with you on becoming a publisher? I mean, did she share all those steps to learn?
No, it was kind of fly by the seat of my pants, which seems to be the way I do a lot of my life. But it was good. It was. I'm learning a lot as I go. I learn every day with new things, new experiences. So it's a lot of fun. But her first book came out in August of 2010, and I honestly didn't know I was going to go farther than that.
Now, when the books got published, when you got calls from authors to publish their book, was it through word of mouth, or did you do any advertising, or how did that go about?
I didn't do any advertising. Some of the people who were in the South Shore Writers Club, which is an organization that my mother is a part of, approached me, and they said, you did such a great job with her book, we were wondering if you'd help us with ours. And as a result, in the past year, I've published 9 other books.
Wow.
So, and we've got 4 more coming out within the next month or so. So it's taken off.
It's really growing.
It is. There's definitely a a need for this because so many of the self-publishing companies I find are looking to take advantage of people. They don't care who you are. They just want to take your money and give you a product that's very often inferior or very highly priced. And that's not really what people are looking for. People who want to publish their books, I'm finding, enjoy having an intimate relationship. It's nice when you sit down with somebody over a cup of coffee and talk about their book and work through the kinks and all of that. So
now I've noticed, looking at all the books you have in front of us here, that you have all different genres with it. Could you tell us a little bit about these books?
Sure, absolutely. So the first book that I did was Out of the Blue, and that's set in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and that was my mother's first book. And it's a light romance, and she has gone on to write 3 others. She's got The Birthday Gift, which is set in Connecticut. She has Sleepless Tide set in Maine, and then she has Winter Waltz, which is her most recent one set in Vermont, and she's going to be coming out with her 5th one set in New Hampshire. So you can tell there's a New England theme going on. So she'll do her 6th one called Red Tulips, I believe, set in Rhode Island. And then Kathy Handley, who's in Plymouth, has done a collection of short stories, flash fiction, and poetry, and she called that A World of Love and Envy. She's got a beautiful picture here, as you can tell. And she also wrote this magnificent novel, which is called Birds of Paradise, and it's set in California, and it deals a lot with homeless teens. And a trucker named Joe Mack, who everyone will fall in love with, and who ends up helping the kids out, which is really great. We also have If You Dare to Dream, which is by Donna Fitzgerald. She's a Hanover resident, and the novel is actually set in Hanover. It came to her in a dream, and it bugged her to the point that she finally wrote it all down, and it's a great little story. And we have Tomorrow's Just Another Road, which is a collection of short stories by Dick Standring, and they're all focusing on homelessness. And the people in there are just very amazing people that you want to connect with and understand. Barry Littlegill has done a Snow Fairy Adventure, which is a charming children's book. He's got 3 more that will be coming out to do all the seasons. And I also have this other book that's one of our more recent publications called Steps to a Richer Life. And
I read that.
You did. Excellent.
Yes, it is excellent.
And it's great. It's a life's little instruction book of sorts. And Rich just has such a positive outlook on life. People have read his book several times over and really just found it inspiring and enjoyed it greatly. So that's what we've done to date.
Now, what makes you decide, or I'm sure you don't take everybody, but what makes you decide on the author's work that you want to publish? Because I'm sure any publisher, you want to make sure it's something that reflects back, that's good for you.
Absolutely. We actually have had to turn a couple of projects down. There are several things that we look for. First of all, I don't want anything that has violence for violence's sake. I want there to be a purpose in it. Second of all, I want it to be something that I actually feel is marketable. It's not fair to have somebody write a book and spend the money to publish it and then not have it go anywhere. That would be frustrating. So we look at those 2 things, really. I have 2 other editors who I have taken on as independent contractors who help me with reviewing the projects that come in, and we make a decision about whether it's something that's really going to be worthwhile for the author, because we get paid for our time, but the authors so rarely do. And so it's really important to me that it be something that we can stand behind. And self-publishing is an industry where it's had a bad rap for a long time because anybody could self-publish.
It's true.
And at Riverhaven, we consider ourselves to be gatekeepers. We make sure that it's a quality book, that it makes sense, that it stays together, that the point of view is correct, that the editing is correct, and we make sure that it's a quality product that gets put out. We don't want to just put out anything just to make money. That's not our goal.
Now, What about reading yourself? I know myself being an author, there's so much I'd like to read, but it's like I just don't have time. Or if I do start reading some books, all that's on my mind is, oh, all this writing I've got put aside. So do you get a chance to read much yourself?
I don't, unfortunately. I love to read. However, I am usually so busy reading other people's work and editing it. And then in my spare time, I'm also teaching part-time at Massasoit Community College, and I teach English composition, so I'll have 40 to 60 essays on a regular basis that I'm reading and editing and grading.
Wow.
So I don't have a lot of time to read for pleasure, but I do have a stack of books that I enjoy reading at times. So that's...
But I know that you do a lot for your authors. In fact, I probably, so I can blend this in with you and I just want people watching to know that it's my brag time right now.
Yes.
This is a book, hopefully, that's going to be out this week, and it's being published by Stephanie, Riverhaven Books. And it's called A Spiritual Renewal, Journey to Magigoria. Now, this book is a reprint of my first one, which is A Healing Heart, but it's a much nicer book. The first one was my first book, and God knows how many mistakes us authors all make. I had a wonderful editor through Debbie, and she went right through it, and I liked it because you have the editor meet 3 times with the author.
At least.
And she learns what you're all about before she even does your editing, and I was very impressed with that. But I know there's more you offer to authors, because that's what attracted me to your company.
Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit?
Sure. We do everything from the editing, the formatting of the book, the cover design. We help with that very often. And then we get the book to the printer, and we use a local printer. It's Country Press in Lakeville. They're magnificent. I can't say enough about Mike and Dave. They're very good to us. And they, after that book is done, I'm probably carrying, I don't know, close to 200 books in my trunk at this point of my car. Because what I try to do for the authors is get them into stores. I have some relationships with some stores that already know me and know the quality of our product and are willing to take us on. And then I try to set up things like book signings at different stores and also at libraries. We do book talks and things. In addition to those items that I offer my authors, I try to offer authors in general a couple of different things. The last Sunday of every month, where we just started this past month in February, we're doing an open mic called Lazy Lit Sundays, and that's at Something's Brewin in Lakeville. And we have an hour of open mic, and then we have 2 featured authors who come and talk about their books and read from them. And then it's typically the last Monday of every month. I run something called Writer's Work, and we have different speakers who come in. It's a buffet. It's held at the Hearth and Kettle in Weymouth, and they come in, they eat. We have a guest speaker who talks about something that's pertinent to writers. March, we're having Ray Anderson come and talk about blogging to build your writer platform. He's a fantastic author who has written a couple of serial murder type books about murders that take place on hiking trails. One of them is the Appalachian, and I believe the second one is the Pacific Crest. But he's an avid hiker, and so he has a blog that he does regularly. I think he comes out 3 times a week, called Take a Long Hike. And it's amazing, the information from it, but he's gotten a huge audience because of the hiking. And I'm sure that when his book comes out, that he will have a good audience for the book itself. So we're doing that, and then in April we have Anne LeClaire coming and speaking about making every scene count. So it's really a wonderful opportunity for authors to come, and a lot of times people get frustrated with writers groups because you either get harsh criticism or not enough good constructive feedback. But this is just an opportunity to come and socialize and talk. And at the end of the night, I have a table with all the authors' books set up on it, and people can come and buy their books. which is really a lot of fun.
Support.
And it's support. It is, absolutely. And we have a brag period where people can get up and say they won a contest or, they've got something being published somewhere. So
now,
it's
do you
really great.
advertise this on your website?
Yes.
All these events coming, and what's that website?
It's www.riverhavenbooks.com. So.
Now, Riverhaven Books.
Yes.
How did you come up with that name?
My mother lived in England for a few years when she was first married to my father, and we have I had great aunts who lived in Ireland, and over there they name their houses. And my parents, where they live in Hanson, have a river that runs behind them. It's part of the North River. And my mother named her house Riverhaven.
And that's how it
And
started.
when we were coming out with her first book, it just seemed to make sense to call it Riverhaven Books. And so we've gone from there, but it's a nice name. It really, I love it.
Now that this is growing, do you have any other accomplishments you want to do at your company? I mean, you're going to go further. I mean, I know you also offer to put the books into ebooks for the authors. Mm-hmm. What else do you have planned for the future?
Well, we are currently working to become distributors through Barnes & Noble, and I am talking to some other chain stores about carrying our books. But other than that, we're in ebooks. We're on Kindle. We're on Smashwords. The books are all available through those venues, and it's nice because it offers the authors another opportunity to reach readers, and that's really, I think, what any author wants is just to be read.
Now, what would you really advise somebody who would have interest in contacting you for their books? I mean, I know you said you have to decide which books you want, but what would you advise anybody who's looking for a publisher? Would you have any advice to authors on that?
Well, I would suggest that if you're interested, there are several other availabilities for companies, but Riverhaven Books is the only one that's local in Massachusetts, to my knowledge. I think that if you check out the website, we actually have a lot of information, and there's a form that you can download that we ask for a reading fee so that we can make sure that the product is a very good quality product, and we give authors good feedback. Even if we reject it, we give a nice letter explaining why, and then we go from there to develop, we give them pricing on what everything's going to be. So, but I think that looking at other sites, we're probably the most reasonable around.
Yeah.
And we definitely offer more of a complete package. I am in talks with another company who does publicity and publications for mostly entertainers, but they're talking to us about helping out with the authors. And I'm doing whatever I can to try to get my authors out there to the world.
Well, I know that I'd appreciate that myself, being with Riverhaven Books, because I'm a speaker. Mm-hmm. And I would like to get out there myself, which, if people know me, it's about losing my husband and daughter from alcoholism. So it's trying to get out there and speak. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you may have a chance, but you look at some of these publicity places and you go to pay them, and the price is so high that it scares you so much you can't even do it. You just step back because it's out of your reach. I mean,
absolutely.
Let's face it, most authors are just starting out from the beginning.
Well, that's just it. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why I try to keep things so reasonable. Because my mother is an author, I really understand that. And that's why I run things like Writer's Work. It's $20 to come for the night, but that includes your meal. And I'm not making any money off of the night. I'm just trying to do things to get the authors out there. I had talked to somebody who does publicity, and I think she said she'd give us a deal and do $75 for an hour. And I almost had heart failure because
oh yeah,
is that low?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes,
that to me,
I've had places
they
they talk in the thousands, and I say if I had thousands that I was making from my books, I'd be happy. But it's all, you have to really persevere. I mean, for an author, you can't give up. Some people are happy to say I wrote a book and that's the end of it.
Right.
which is fine. There's not a thing wrong with it.
No.
But I have a platform, and for myself personally, I really want to get out there and talk.
Well, absolutely, and nobody wants to go into this to lose money.
Yeah.
So if you figure by the time you spend the money to get it edited and formatted and designed, and then get it printed, then to turn around and not make your money back
Yeah.
seems, again, the authors are making maybe $2 to $5 on a book, if that. I don't take any commission from the sale of their books, so they make a little more through me than they would through another company possibly. But it's amazing to me how little experience most of the authors have with getting out there. Most people I know want to sit and write. They don't want to be out doing other things. You have a cause that you stand behind. You have something that severely impacted your life with the loss of your ex-husband and your daughter. So you have a reason to get out there and change lives and change the world. But and Rich Barnes, the same type of thing. He wants to get out and inspire people to live each day to the fullest and be kind in doing it.
Yeah.
But some of my authors, there's not a platform behind my mother's work other than she just loves to write sweet, wholesome stories that anybody could read and not be offended by, so.
Well, I know it's a great learning process, and I hope anybody who's watching the show, I think you'll learn a lot if you go on to Stephanie's website, www.riverhavenbooks.com. And I want to thank you for coming. I have just an announcement I want to make. If anybody is interested in learning from Authors Without Borders, we're going to have an event at the Bristol Plymouth Technical Regional School in Taunton. And it's going to be a discussion panel, and it's going to go on different things that we're talking about here, but you're going to learn the mistakes that the four of us have made, promoting, marketing, ebooks. We could go on forever about all these things. Maybe sometime we can have you back when you start growing even more. But I want to give the number to Bristol Plymouth School if anybody wants to contact them to come to our discussion panel. It will be April 7th. It'll be from 9 to noon time. And the number is 508-823-5151, and that's extension 123. And please tune in every single month. You'll see a different published author from Authors Without Borders, and we'll have different people for you to learn how to get your book out there. And don't give up. You have to get that book out. And thank you very much for tuning in.